Brothers and sisters, let's congratulate our Vice President, John Duffy.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Well, you know, I think having heard all these great speakers, maybe it's time for a little levity. So maybe we'll start off with a little levity. Maybe we'll start off with a little labor joke, right? That some of you may have heard at the regional conferences, but I did a quick survey last night. I couldn't get onto the app, so I went around asking everybody that, and most of them are, or at least 50 or more years old. Do you guys remember me telling this labor joke about the bank robber? And every one of them forgot the joke. So I said, that's great. So so the only good thing about an aging workforce is that I can probably keep telling this joke for a long time. But anyway, so this involves a bank robber and a clerk, right? And this young clerk, she works for this boss. She loves her job, but she hates her boss. Her boss is always on her about everything and just nasty in every way imaginable. Just one of those typical really bad bosses. But this tough guy boss, you know, when it comes time to bring the payroll to the bank, he brings her along with him because he's afraid to go alone. So they're making one of them drop-offs for the payroll to the bank. And so the boss and his clerk enter the bank, and the bank is crowded with people. It's the middle of the day. And they make their way just kind of inside the door, and a masked gunman bursts in and tells everybody, don't move, keep your head down at the ground, and nobody will get hurt. And he gets up to the clerk, gets up to the teller, and he tells the teller, put all your money in this bag. And the teller puts all the money in the bag. And he turns around, he starts walking for the door, and just before he gets to the door, somebody foolishly grabs his hood and pulls his hood off. And looks back at the teller, and the teller makes eye contact with him. And to teach everybody a lesson, he shoots the teller, kills the teller in cold blood. And he says, did anybody else see my face? And everybody's scared to death. They're shaking like a leaf, and they're looking down at the ground. They won't look up. And the clerk says, I think my boss might have caught a glimpse of you. And so apparently she got a new boss the next day. But it's great to be here. It's amazing how quick time flies. 4 years. But who really could forget what was going on those 4 years ago? As we heard about this war on workers, that's when we've been under attack since the first union was ever formed. But we've never seen this type of attack until 2011, until right after those midterm elections in 2010, right? That's what was going on then. It had just started up just before the convention and continued on and continues to this day, as we know. But what's interesting now is that we have politicians, the same ones that want to destroy the middle class, they're coming around now and running for president and want us to believe that they're here to help us, that they care about us, right? They want us to forget that they were the people that were coming after us. As a matter of fact, with this income inequality has gotten so bad, they have to weigh in on it now. And that's where that pretending that they love us comes in, right? As a matter of fact, since the year 2000, right, usual weekly wages have fallen 3.7% in real terms among workers in the lowest tenth of the earnings distribution. And they've fallen 3% among the lowest quarter. But among people near the top of the distribution chain, real wages have actually risen 9.7%. So let's take a look at some of these folks that want us to think that they're on our side now all of a sudden. So who best to start with but the guy who ran for president the last time around? Mitt Romney, right? The Mittster, right? Earlier this year, while he was still considering another run for president, he was quoted as saying, under President Obama, The rich have gotten richer. Income inequality has gotten worse. And there are more people in poverty than ever before. Mitt Romney says this. This is the same guy, right? The same billionaire that in his last run for president, he derided 47% of Americans by accusing them of acting like victims, being dependent on government and not willing to take control of their own lives. I mean, this is amazing stuff. This is how stupid they think the American electorate is. Who do we go to next? Ted Cruz, Teddy Boy, right? What does he say recently? Quote by him, the top 1% are getting fat and happy. Ted Cruz, this is the guy who was the biggest proponent of the last government shutdown and cost taxpayers probably $24 billion. It didn't hurt the 1%, that shutdown. It hurt everybody in this room to one degree or another. We all know people that were furloughed during that time. And we'll pay a price for that for a while. But of course, they couldn't put $21 billion into the infrastructure of the country. Instead, they shut the country down, and it cost us $24 billion, and we got a goose egg for it. Thanks to people like Ted Cruz. Then we got another presidential hopeful. Let's see, the bass player, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, right? He wrote an op-ed with the theme, "Fight for families, not the elites." Really? Okay, here's a favorite of mine coming up. Ohio Governor John Kasich, right? He just declared his candidacy for president. He was quoted in 2013 as saying, "When you die and get to the meeting with St. Peter, he's probably not going to ask you much about what you did for keeping government small, but he is going to ask you what you did for the poor, and you better have a good answer." Really? John Kasich? This is the same guy who had no trouble crusading under the guise of small government with his failed attempt to gut public sector labor law in Ohio. Right? This is unbelievable stuff. Now, one of these candidates recently, he tipped his hand, right? That's Jeb Bush. We've probably all heard this quote already. Jeb Bush just recently told everybody, you know, the way to grow the American economy is American workers need to be more productive and work longer hours. Does anybody think that we need to work longer hours in this country? Right? But hey, make no mistake about it. If any of these guys gets control of the White House, that's it. There will be an open assault on the National Labor Relations Act. They will replicate on the federal level what they've been doing at the state level. The private sector will be decimated, worse than it is now. All right, you'll have national right to work, as was talked about before. You know, you'll have dues checkoff gone. That'll be outlawed. You wouldn't have all those things anymore. So that's what'll be going on. But you know, who else do we have? Donald Trump, the equal opportunity hater, right? And the only thing you could say about Donald Trump is you got to give him credit. You got to give the guy credit. He earned his money the old-fashioned way. He inherited it. Right? So income inequality has really become an undeniable economic reality, so much so that those that have harmed us now want us to believe that they're out to help us. Because you just can't deny what's going on. It's all around us. I mean, just this type of behavior is just nothing less than an insult to everybody who gets out of bed every morning to work for a living in this country. But you know, the bottom line is that we really don't need politicians, Democrats or Republicans, to tell us what the problem here is in the economy, right? We know what the problem is, right? The decimation of unions. We know what the solution is. Collective bargaining, right? Stronger labor laws. The right to join a labor union without the fear of losing your job. That's what's going to bring this country back. That's what's going to make us great again. And throwing these bums out on their rear that came after us, that are attacking labor rights, and replacing them with people that actually respect people that work for a living, instead of taking money from the 1%, actually servicing the people that voted for them, right? That's what we need to do. And we need to tell everybody we work with the same thing. You know, that attack is still going on, as I said, And most recently, I had the privilege and honor of speaking on the State House steps in West Virginia, because there was right-to-work legislation pending. And they won that battle. But like everywhere else, these guys ain't going to stop. They're going to keep coming back at us. But you know what I said to the folks there? I said, you know, I took the words of a famous song from the coal miners. It was written by the wife of a union organizer in the coal miners back in the 1930s. And the name of that song is Which Side Are You On? So the next time you got a politician, or even one of your own members that doesn't quite get it, just start asking them, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Thank you very much. God love you.